Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Droid Live Show episode 56 tonight, running a little earlier than normal and also a little short on staff members. I'm your host, Kellen. With me tonight, Tim. Tim, say hi real quick.
Hey guys, how's it going? Tim here.
There is a chance Ron will join us in a few. The rest of the people are at like Waka Flocka shows or something wild like Midwest white people do. So, episode 56, we took last week off. Welcome back then after that little vacation for us. We got some stuff to talk about, and biggest thing is probably Galaxy S5 stuff, I would say. Tim and I have had the phone now for a couple of weeks, and yes, we are working on that review. We promise it'll be out shortly. So we've got some thoughts, though, that we'll share, and it'll probably give you an idea as to where we're going to lean when we do our review. I reviewed the Gear Fit, so I'll talk quickly about my thoughts on that. The OnePlus One is now official. Specs are out fully. The price, which is pretty awesome, and the really weird ways you can acquire one. We'll talk about Fire TV since we both had that now for a couple weeks. Shield 2, the fact that I'm sick of all the giant smartphones in the world. Hopefully get to some Q&A with you guys if you are listening along live. And then we got a whole big list of apps and games. So let's start with this Galaxy S5 stuff. So I think you were showing yours.
Yeah.
I have mine around here somewhere. All right, so I have the Verizon version. Tim has the AT&T version, and we've had it since basically the day before launch. And do you want to start? Do you just want to kind of give me like 3 things you like about the phone first?
Ooh, 3 things I like.
Yeah.
I like the camera first and foremost. Camera's good. I've been very impressed. Not to say that I was expecting anything less from Samsung. I was expecting a beastie camera, so they delivered that. I like the display, 5.1-inch, 1080p. I dig it. I can see why some third parties were saying it's the best smartphone display ever. I would probably agree with that. It seems very dense. I like it. The colors are good. Not that real oversaturation sometimes that you see, and I think that's good. Third thing, I like the redesign of TouchWiz. Not to say that TouchWiz itself is good, but I like the way that it looks, and it has been molded on top of KitKat. So that's my 3.
That seemed like some sort of a struggle just to come up with 3.
Well, I mean, I didn't want to say that I like TouchWiz because I don't with this phone, but I do like KitKat. So, like I said, KitKat really makes everything better. And although, I mean, we'll get into 3 things I don't like about this phone, but
Yes, we will.
KitKat is good.
All right, so 3 things I would say I like. The display, first of all. The display is gorgeous.
It
At
is.
5.1 inches. I mean, it's DisplayMate that said best display ever, and it really is nice looking. Viewing angles, colors, brightness levels, just something AMOLEDs have struggled with in the past. It just looks really, really good. The camera, I would say, so I don't think with the Galaxy S4, I remember just being like, this camera is awesome. Note 3, I remember going, the camera on the Note 3, when it's not processing, takes amazing photos. This camera, I feel like it takes good photos. I just don't know that I feel quite the same as I did S4 and Note 3. I just remember those cameras being awesome. This one's good. And maybe that's just because cameras in most phones now are good, so it's tough to just blow me away. But, I mean, it's good enough. Let's see. Third thing.
Yeah, it's not easy, is it?
It's not really easy.
That's sad.
Let's see. Can't go performance.
Speaker
looking now.
sucks. How about that it's waterproof? Is that cool?
Yeah, except I don't really care. I mean, I've never,
I haven't taken
guess
it in
knock
the
on wood, I've
shower.
never dropped a phone in water.
Yeah.
Let's see. Multi-window. I don't really use it.
I don't use that.
Toolbox is kind of a cool little feature I was using. Not the fingerprint thing.
Not the heart rate monitor.
Not. How about the fact that it runs Android? That's a bonus.
It says running Android on the boot up, so.
That's right. It's powered by Android now. Yeah. Okay. So camera, display, like you said, and basically that it runs KitKat. All right. So those are I've got the same three things pretty much. All right. Give me three things. And this is not to say that Tim and I hate the phone by any means.
No, we
But
don't hate it.
but let okay. So now do three that you don't like about the phone. And you have to
Performance.
limit it to three.
Okay. The one thing I've noticed is overall performance, and the jank fest that is TouchWiz. I feel like Snapdragon 801 processor with 2 gigs of RAM. You would expect this phone to fly, and unfortunately, while multitasking, and they had that dedicated multitasking button right there on the side, it kind of sucks. Like last night, I got home. I was just scrolling through Twitter and I clicked on a link to open up Chrome and boom, the phone just froze on me. I was like, okay, what do I do? I haven't had to do this in so long. Do I battery pull? Like, what do I do to turn this?
I
Like,
have had the
stop
battery
it.
pull already,
Yeah.
yes.
And just even when like pulling down the notification bar and it'll just jank up a little bit and lag out. And I'm like, oh God, what is this? And because coming from a Nexus 5 or the M8, you never really experienced that. The M8 was pretty darn fast. So performance would be my number one pain point. Overall design, I'm not as happy with this design as I was the S4. The S4 had slimmer bezels on the side of the display. I don't
Yeah.
mind so much the top and bottom bezel, but when you start adding in a thicker bezel on the side of the display, then my eyes become a little sore about it.
Hmm.
I mean, because I pick up the S4, and if you would say, well, this one's the new version, I've been like, yeah, but this one looks cooler. Like the S4
Mhm.
looks cooler. So overall design, I would say, is kind of one of my things. Because you have these grooves along the side of the display as well, and the little bumps, the
The
chrome
little lip
bumps.
there, yeah.
Yeah, around the device, I do not care for that at all. And I'm not gonna knock the home button because I mean it is what it is. It's a Samsung phone, so you just kind of have to expect that. But
Right.
so yeah, overall performance, overall design, and oh man, I mean there's really not much to hate on. I mean, but the performance is such a big one. Like if the phone doesn't perform how you want it to, then you got kind of a bummer there. I guess and just I don't know. Yeah, I'm just gonna stick with two,
Okay.
unless you can come up with a third one that I'll throw onto my
All right.
list.
Well, I will definitely say performance. So, like
Yeah.
you said, Snapdragon 801, and it's the sort of better version of the 801 than the HTC One M8's running, and yet it's just you got to blame TouchWiz. TouchWiz is just that bad, and like you said, so if they swapped out a multitasking button. Right, they swapped out the menu button for a multitasking button. And when you press that, there's a delay, like a solid second and a half, maybe delay before your app list pops up. That's unacceptable in a smartphone today. So you can't even multitask quickly. And you're right, when you jump between just anything, there's just stutters and jitters and things. I can't believe and a lot of people complained about that with S4. I thought for sure with new TouchWiz they'd figure all that stuff out. With this one, they haven't. I would agree with you too on the design. So here's the S4 here and S5 here, and while they look pretty similar, I would agree that the S4 is a much better design. It feels better in hand. It's more display with less bezel. It's rounder, so you can hold it better. And I know it has that gross sticky back on it, but it's not slippery. Like I think the S5 is kind of slippery too.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, design's not great. Obviously, the fingerprint sensor and the health stuff for me haven't been amazing, which we'll talk about later when I get into the fit. But and
Yeah.
battery life for me hasn't been great. I know a lot of
Oh
people have
yeah,
had
that's a good one. Good one.
yeah,
Sorry. Yeah. The
a lot of
battery.
people have had really good battery life. And some of the other reviews that are out and stuff. I've had terrible, not terrible, but not great, like 12 to 14 hour, just basically what I get on almost every other smartphone. So I don't know where people are coming up with 2 day battery life and things like that. I just don't get it. So. That would be my other thing is battery life, but I'm also starting to wonder if it's just where I live and my Verizon signal sucks. Um,
Verizon LTE sucking your juice.
yeah, it seems like it. So, because the M8 was also on Verizon and I didn't get great battery life there, so it could just be where I live. But you said you aren't really getting great battery life either, though, right? On AT&T.
It's not as good as the One M8. And yeah, and I just kind of expected that. You know, like every time I feel like I get one of these new phones that has a crap ton of features, I'm like, I expect battery life to be good, but then I'm not surprised when it's not. I'm like, all right, I mean, this thing has a huge, bright display, 4G LTE, and it's running, tons of crap. So I'm not surprised that the battery life is not as good as I had intended. So, or had hoped. I didn't intend for it to have like good battery. It's not my phone.
Right.
So they should have intended for it. So yeah.
Do you have like just overall? Again, our review
Like a
will be
1
out.
out of 10, like
Yeah,
a 1
we're
out of 10
shooting.
maybe.
We're shooting for review by the end of this week. But yeah, do you have like an overall just Galaxy S5? Just like a thought, like, is this your phone? Would you buy it over the One M8? Would you give up the next 5 for it? Something. Do you have a statement on the Galaxy S5?
Um, Samsung's 2014 flagship is a step in the wrong direction. I would take the Nexus 5 over this phone any day of the week. I'll take the weaker camera. How about Galaxy S5, decent flagship? Few pain points cause, I don't know, frustrations. I don't know. I mean, this performance sucks. So it's just not what I expected. So no, I mean, I just want the Nexus 5 back. I love that phone.
Yeah.
But I don't. The M8, as you were saying about the camera and stuff, though, I forget what exactly you said, but I still think the Galaxy S5 camera is much better than the M8's, especially when it comes to say zooming in or details in photos.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for that right there, if you like taking pictures on a phone, then I would recommend the Galaxy S5 any day of the week. But if it were me and it was my money, I would be waiting for the LG G3. That's the phone I'm looking forward
hold
to.
out for that.
Or the new Motorola phone. Who knows what's going to happen there?
Yeah.
But the G3, I mean, is probably going to be legit.
It's probably gonna be awesome. Or if you're on AT&T, maybe this OnePlus One, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Right.
Yeah, I would just say it just seems so unremarkable. There's just nothing. There's nothing about the Galaxy S5 that goes, this is a huge, really worthy upgrade over. Like if you have a Galaxy S4, don't buy the S5. You're not going to see anything new except a new skin on TouchWiz. And again, I would argue the S4 is a better phone for the most part. So it just seems like it doesn't have the big, this is awesome, you should get it. Again, it has a really great display, but the S4's display is fine too. So is the Note 3s, so is the G2s. Everybody has a good display now. So there's nothing that really stands out. And yeah, the design drives me nuts. The performance stuff drives me nuts.
There's no wow factor.
No, there's not. And maybe that's because they really are building this Prime version or whatever with the Quad HD, which really sounds like it's coming. So it just seems more and more like the Galaxy S5. They're kind of doing this kind of not toned down, but yeah, kind of a toned down launch of it because they got bigger plans coming. And it's kind of unfair to anyone who bought it because apparently a lot of people have already bought the S5. And look, I'm not saying the phone sucks. It's still a really good phone. If you got it, you'd probably be happy with it. We're just kind of really anal, uppity phone review guys, and we want everything to be perfect in a certain way. And I think we're both kind of feeling the same way about this phone. It's just not there. It's not the best phone ever made. It's a good phone, really good phone. Has some good things going for it. There's just some things here and there that just haven't made it awesome. So
yeah.
We're gonna try to have our review soon though. So
soon. Yep. Expect full review and
hopefully
full
by the end of the week.
Of the jank.
Yeah. All right. Let me talk just gear fit real quick. So
go for it.
I have it somewhere here. Oh, I have it turned off. All right. So I reviewed the gear fit really quickly the other day because there's not a whole lot to say. Here it is, by the way. Gear fit. Booting it up now. Gear fit, if not the basically I said, I'll just get right to the point. I basically said this is not the fitness tracker you want. It's $200, and the coolest thing about that is the display, just because it's a cool curved AMOLED display and it's gorgeous and the colors are cool and the clocks are cool and things like that. But the fitness side of it, not good. Just the way it handles everything is just like a half-baked fitness product. Like you can't pause a workout. If you're going for a run or you're in the middle of a workout in the gym, you can't pause it on the thing. You have to stop it completely and then start up a new workout. Like that just seems like such a massive like screw up there. The heart rate monitor stuff I talked about sucks. It doesn't really work. Like when I get done with the workout on this thing, when you would want to test your heart rate, it won't test it if there's any amount of sweat on the sensor, which is kind of ridiculous. It's a fitness band, right? Like it should. So, and it doesn't handle notifications well because it's just too skinny of a screen. Yeah, it's $200 and it has a cool display. That's kind of it. I mean, I wouldn't recommend anyone buy this. Maybe give Samsung a couple of software updates to get some of those things ironed out, and maybe it'll be worth it then. Apparently, people bought it though because it's sold out. I think, isn't it? I think I saw that somewhere today that they made like 250,000 and already sold all of them or something crazy like that. So, I don't know. People bought it. I guess people buy anything Samsung makes, even if it's crap. So, Gear Fit, thumbs down. Yeah, thumbs down. All right, so OnePlus One. The stupid teasing is finally over with, right? We're not doing that rollout of one spec a week. Questions about what the price is going to be, what it's going to look like, all this stuff. It's finally official. OnePlus One was announced last night, and it actually looks pretty promising. Except you can't buy it, and we don't know when you can buy it. I mean, we kind of know when, but we don't really know when. So to recap, the OnePlus One, let me just run down the spec list for you guys. It was started by a guy that used to work for Oppo. He created a phone. He wanted to make it really affordable. It's running a custom version of CyanogenMod, so it's CyanogenMod 11S. And they tried to pack in the most top-tier specs and delivered all at this really affordable price as an unlocked phone, not tied to carriers. And they have done that, I would say. I mean, I don't think you can argue that. So you've got 2.5 gigahertz Qualcomm Snapdragon 801, so it's the same sort of bumped up version that the Galaxy S5 has, I'm pretty sure. It has 3 gig of RAM. It comes in either 16 or 64 gigabytes of internal storage, no micro SD card slot. 3100 milliamp hour battery, 5.5 inch 1080p display with Gorilla Glass 3, 13 megapixel Sony Exmor sensor in the back. It has a 5 megapixel front camera, so like the One M8. It's a global phone, GSM. Though from what I'm seeing, it only looks like it's really going to work on AT&T fully here. So it's got both of AT&T's LTE bands and all of their GSM bands. It could technically, I think, work on T-Mobile's LTE, but I don't know that all the GSM bands are supported. It doesn't look like that. So it's got a lot of stuff going. So it's got all those specs. Comes in either white or black. The 16 gigabyte version is the white version. It's $300 or $299. And if you want the 64 gig version, it's only $350. So we're talking like cheaper than Nexus level stuff here, and specs that, at least on paper, including the camera as a Sony Exmor sensor, way better than Nexus. And granted, it's a little big. It's 5.5 inch display, big phone. But that's crazy. $300. The only problem is we don't know when you're going to really be able to buy this thing. So they announced it, and they're doing a contest sort of thing where you can basically sign up on their mailing list. And if you're chosen, they want you to smash your old phone, I believe, on camera. And then once you smash it and prove you've killed your old phone, they're going to let you buy it for $1. And they're only letting 100 people do that. And those 100 people then are going to get invites so they can invite their friends to buy the phone. And so that's going to go on for a little while. And then potentially in mid-May, you might be able to buy it. And they're going to try to sell it in 16 countries, but we don't know which ones they're starting with, when it's going to arrive, all this stuff. So really cool on paper, really cool idea. The phone looks nice. Design-wise, looks pretty nice, although it's, again, probably a little bit big. And the price is amazing. Should work on AT&T just fine. $300, and so we're just kind of waiting now to see if we can ever buy this thing. But I mean, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, I mean, I was up last night watching all this crap unfold. What do you think today when you woke up and you saw all the OnePlus stuff official?
I thought it was cool. I think it kind of looked a little bit better than I had expected. I think the price point is fantastic. The specs excite me. I'm not really stoked on the whole invite process.
Right.
I mean, that's sort of lame. But other than that, I'm kind of excited. I hope that they aren't coming in, they aren't trying to short themselves on that price. Hopefully they'll be able to make money on that.
Right,
And
so they don't disappear next year
yeah,
already or
exactly.
something.
Watch those margins, folks. And yeah, so hopefully they'll be able to make ends meet while still delivering a great product. I mean, of course, being a spec fanatic, it excites me. So it's nice to see a new player in the game. However, it's hard for me. I don't get excited about Oppo phones. They could have 2K displays, 50 megapixel cameras. I do not care. Those phones don't excite me. Huawei, ZTE, all these phones that have crazy specs, by standards, anything that's kind of from overseas, I'm a little sketched about just because of privacy concerns or whatever. Call me old-fashioned. I just like there's something about phones from the overseas, and I know it's hypocritical because I like Samsung and HTC, but like a small
Just
company.
say it. You don't like Chinese smartphones.
I don't like Chinese smartphones. Xiaomi or whatever, like
Xiaomi?
yeah, Xiaomi. Not just Chinese smartphones, but cheap phones in general sometimes don't like that skin on the OnePlus One, like the icons, those look hideous. I know I could just throw on a launcher,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
those look
you can
disgusting,
basically flip it to back to almost stock cyanogen, I think.
which I would probably do if
Yeah.
possible. Yeah, it has a lot of cool features and stuff. From what it sounds like. With the cyanogen mod. I haven't flashed cyanogen mod in years, so
Mhm.
forgive me if I have no idea what those guys have been up to besides being incorporated and all that and selling out.
Right.
Um, I'm kidding. What's the? Is that not selling out? Like, or no, that's buying in. I guess that's buying in. So they did the good thing. I'm just so used to having it just be some kids in their mom's basements making ROMs, like that's the way I liked it, just like, yeah, sure, I'll flash your ROM, bro, and like test it for you and stuff,
Right.
like the old days.
Old days.
The old days, people just asking for PayPal donations or a 6-pack of beer, whatever. Now they want millions of dollars.
And they're
Um,
getting it, so
and they're getting it, which is crazy.
big time.
But I do think that the work they have put into the Android ecosystem is worth that for sure. They've helped build it to what it is. So it's great that OEMs are kind of realizing that. I'm sure Google is proud. Yeah, sure. Fork our OS. That's cool. Make money. So, with that being said, I'm excited for the OnePlus One. I hate the name. Really, like with so many words in the English language, as I was telling you earlier, and everyone decides to go with the One. That just seems silly. Xbox One, M8 One, or HTC One, OnePlus One. Come on.
One
Um,
Mini, M8,
oh, I
M7
know.
One.
Yeah, there's going to
Never
be the
stops.
One Max. Yeah, some One X, One X Plus. Just a lot of ones.
Yeah.
So, if I was just a regular consumer, I'd be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. They all sound the same. So, yeah, I'm excited for the OnePlus One. um, I've been saying that a lot. I'm sorry. It's just there's not a lot yet known.
Yeah, and you're gonna get your hands on it soon, so we'll have some more thoughts and coverage once that happens.
Absolutely. I'm excited to get my hands on it and play around with it and be able to report back to the good folks of the DL community as to what I think about
Yeah,
it.
I'll be interested to hear what you think about the size of it, because there's apparently this mini controversy brewing about the
Mm.
size. I don't know if you knew about this. So
Uh,
a few weeks ago, do you remember when they posted a picture of the Sony Z1 and they
mm,
said their phone was like hidden underneath it, and they
right.
put a 5.5-inch screen inside the body of a
Oh, right.
phone?
Yeah.
So if you look at the dimensions, it's like way bigger. So they were clearly lying.
Lying?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I doubt they would try and lie purposefully.
Yeah, so they might not have just completely lied. Maybe everyone blew it out of
I
proportion,
think
but that
everyone.
was at least what was rolling around, right? Was that it's smaller than the Xperia Z1, and it's not. It's huge. It's like Note 3 size almost.
Oh, are you kidding
I
me?
think it's pretty close.
Oh.
Here, hold on. I have the dimensions.
It's 5.5 inches, right?
Yeah. So
I
it's
was
not. There's no way they were gonna make it super tiny, right? I'm
That
now looking this
disgusts
up.
me. Well, they could fit a 5.5 inch in the S5 body if they, took out that bottom bezel
They took
or
out all
whatever
that
on the
extra
top.
bezel. All right, so here we go. I got specs. All right,
Loki.
so the Note. Oh yeah. Note 3 is 151.2 millimeters tall, 79 wide, and 8.3 thick. So the OnePlus One is taller. It's 152.9. So it's actually taller than the Note 3, if you can believe that, by a millimeter. But it's not as wide. It's 4 millimeters less, so it's a little bit less wide, and then it's slightly thicker. But so yeah, it's like Note 3 size. So I don't know what the hell they were talking about when they tried to make everyone believe that it was like a 5.5-inch phone and a 5-inch phone's body. It's not. It's in a Note 3 size body.
Well, maybe they were just mistaken.
Clearly, something
Or
was wrong there.
yeah,
Yeah. So it's
maybe.
big. Whatever. It's 5.5-inch phone. Of course, it's going to be big. So. Yeah, but so we don't know when you could buy this thing. We asked everyone today in a poll if they would buy it, if they could buy it, and like almost 60% said yes. So people are excited. I think probably because of the price and the whole package specs. You can't argue against it. So for $300, even if you go 350, you get 64 gigs of storage, which is cool. So once it goes on sale, should be interesting to see then if people actually do buy it. Once we get some
If they
real
can.
reviews of it and things like that. So.
Yeah.
It's an interesting move. I mean,
There he is.
Ron
Ron.
joining us for those not watching live.
Yeah.
Welcome
For
in, Ron.
everyone who wants a little behind-the-scenes action, we've been trying to get Ron in here for like the past 20 minutes and have been having troubles.
But Hangouts is like the jankiest thing ever when it comes to inviting
God,
people.
so janky.
It is.
Just
We were
like-
just finishing up OnePlus One talk, Ron. Did you have any thoughts on the OnePlus One?
Yeah, I was listening in. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I mean, the price is definitely the most interesting thing, I think, especially since it undercuts even the Nexus. So obviously, we'll have to wait and see, how it actually performs, and if it's actually a viable option and everything else like that. But I think it's certainly interesting. I think probably the biggest thing is just seeing like a company come out with something that has like high-end specs and everything else like that at that low of a price.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't really seen, certainly no small players really do that, much less big companies. So that kind of, at least for me, like I find that interesting. That at least it appears that companies are able to do that, which may give some hope to like Project Ara actually being viable. But it also raises questions for why like unlocked phones like the HTC One on Google Play and the S5 on Google Play, like why those are $500-$600. So it's interesting. I don't like we said in the Q&A last week. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference in the market or anything else like that. But it's certainly an interesting device, and I think they've got interesting marketing behind it and everything else like that. So we'll see what happens. But
yeah, it's kind of crazy to think that they really did try to put the best specs that are available now in a phone and then sold it. Like with the Nexus. I think the Nexus 4 especially, we saw like an S4 Pro or something in there, which was about to be the old processor, definitely not the new guy on the block, I don't think, if I'm remembering that correctly. With the Nexus 5, they put an 800 in, Snapdragon 800, I believe, so that was still fairly new. But yeah, I mean, these guys, like the 801 just came out on the S5 and the M8, and they're already using it, 3 gig of RAM. So they did that. So I want to know now how much money they're going to make, because
right, that's the curious, like if they are actually able to make any kind of profit on this, or even if they're breaking even, like even that would surprise me.
Right.
Like I just can't, like these are, they're not using outdated specs. These are fresh off the press, for lack of a better term. Like these are new specs. There's obviously been software development going on behind. This isn't just like stock CyanogenMod or anything. Like there's stuff going on there. They've put a lot of work into this. Yeah. So, I mean, it's cheap. So. I guess the question is it like cheap all the way around or just in the price?
Yeah, so Tim really is going to get his hands on it in the next couple of days or next week, I believe. So we'll see what he thinks about it then. But yeah, I'm curious to know, like, does it just going to feel like a cheap phone? They claim it doesn't, and some of the stuff I've read doesn't necessarily make it sound like a super cheap phone. But there's got to be something, right? There's no way they could sell a $300 phone. Google was essentially taking a hit with the Nexus 7 when the original one, when it was priced at $200 or whatever. And I'd imagine they were with the Nexus 4. I don't know about the Nexus 5.
We think they are, but that's the thing. It's just been this assumption, right?
That's true.
And, as far as I know, there isn't any evidence. It's just that everybody in the industry assumes that. So, I mean, it's possible that maybe they are making a little bit of money. That's the issue. And I doubt, what's the company name? OnePlus? Is that stupid name.
Yes, they're stupid
It's,
names.
I know you guys just talked about how that's stupid, but really, guys, like pick a different name.
It's stupid.
Like 2 plus 2, like do something, like just move up a little bit. But like I doubt they'll say anything. But if they do like reveal numbers, like that would be interesting at least to say like, hey, yeah, like we are making some profit or something, like, because I don't. If they are, then obviously that means that Google is definitely making profit off of the 3 Nexus phones that they sell. But if they're not, then how the heck are they going to make money?
Right.
And survive to make a OnePlus 2 or whatever the next one's going to be called. Like,
Whatever the next one's, whatever the terrible name of the sequel. Yeah, I don't know. I think I remember Sundar from Google saying that with the new Nexus 7 anyway, the 2013, they actually were making money. And I thought he kind of said at the old Nexus 7 they weren't, but yeah, I don't know about the Nexus 4.
Did he specify if they're making money on the hardware or if they're making money because of sales, which leads to ad revenue and all that?
I'm pretty sure he said this time around they were now making some money on hardware as well. Is what I think he said with the 2013 Nexus 7. So, but I don't know about the Nexus 5 or Nexus 4. So.
Yeah, and that's like they're always super, like, despite being a quote unquote open company, they are always super vague and closed off about that stuff, which is like I would think that if Google really wants to, at least Schmidt has constantly said that he wants to kind of lead the charge with having these cheap devices, and that it's going to become easy for those devices to get in the hands of more and more people over time as the component costs go down and everything else like that. If I were Google really trying to champion that idea and trying to say like, hey, if you want to be able to put smartphones and the internet in the hands of the masses, I'd be talking about that kind of thing. Like, hey, this is the kind of profit we make on these kind of devices. This is how cheap we're able to make. Who cares if they know your profit? Like other companies like list things like that. It's not a secret.
Right.
At least it shouldn't be for any reason.
So they're either not selling any, or not making any money, or they don't want to offend all their partners. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, it just doesn't like any way. It doesn't seem to make sense. So
yeah,
who knows?
So we'll see what happens with it. Hopefully, again, mid-May, we think we're going to maybe be able to buy them. We're not fully sure, so we'll see what happens.
After doing a little bit of math here, not much.
The calculator's out.
Yeah, no, the old brain power's kicking in. So the OnePlus One height is 151.2 millimeters compared to the Note 3's 152.9. So this thing is just under in height, which that phone is quite tall. Width, we're looking at 79.2 versus 75.9, meaning the OnePlus One is wider than the Note 3.
So I had it flipped then. Okay.
Yeah, and then depth, 8.3 versus 8.9.
It's a little thicker.
It's a little thicker than the Note 3.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing is bigger than the Note 3.
It's a big phone, yeah.
Screw that. Like, I wasn't expecting a phone to be that big. I was expecting like a flagship S4, S5, one type of size, not a phablet.
That's what I'm telling you. There's this little controversy brewing. Everyone is expecting the smaller phone, and it's not.
Yeah,
it's like a big old Note.
Because I jumped on your bandwagon about phones being too dang big these days, and so now I'm not really looking forward to it as much. It's too big to be in my pocket. Anyways.
Are you talking about that bandwagon I started in 2011? Is that the one you're talking about?
I don't know what you're referring to.
Ron destroyed all the big phones in 2011 when they were all of 4.3 inches.
He's the biggest hipster I know. He did everything before it was cool. So I've been hating on those since 2011, whatever.
That was back when people were calling them Hummers and things, I think.
Hummers.
Yeah.
It's actually it's a funny post to look at to see what the giant phones were.
Yeah, the giant phones were 4.3, which was way big. Now that's tiny.
iPhone 6 is gonna have one of those. Dang. Anyways.
Okay. You want to talk about Fire TV a little bit? I know you've been using it, Tim.
Yeah, Fire TV. Finally, last time we had a show, we still hadn't had our hands on the device yet, or the set-top box yet, and it's controller that it comes paired with, purchased separately, of course. I actually like the little box. It's a lot speedier than I thought it would be. It actually performs quite well. The voice search is just as good as I had expected. I was with my friends. I was like, say some names that you might think that are hard to pronounce or whatever. And so he said the name of the guy that stars in the Captain Phillips movie or whatever. I forget his name right off because it's a difficult name.
Right.
But he said it, and it came right up with it. And I was like, now that is impressive. So
To try Gary Busey.
of course, that was the first one I tried. I was like, Gary Busey, and it totally works. So I was like, of course.
Hello, pants. Yeah.
Ah, thank you, fish. And he's a weird dude.
He's such a weird guy.
I love him. I love his
I do
craziness. So besides that, the streaming looks great. I have Comcast, so I have pretty good speeds. So I haven't had any stutters or lag or anything like that. I've been playing a lot of The Walking Dead.
Yes.
And then I've also been playing some Asphalt 8. And I mean, I gotta say, in terms of the overall game, I like The Walking Dead more because I love The Walking Dead. But Asphalt 8 looks good, graphics are good, it's speedy, and the controller's awesome. I like the feel. The controller feels just like an Xbox, a little, not the Xbox One, but Xbox 360. It's a little more bulky than an Xbox 360 controller, but it's slim. It's not bad at all. So, and it's not heavy, kind of like a Shield is or something like that. It's light. So I like the box. I didn't think I was going to like it as much as I did. Now I actually find myself sitting down at the couch and flipping, instead of to my cable, flipping to the Fire TV to see what's on there. So
have you used any apps or anything other than just the streaming stuff and games? Have you actually loaded any apps?
I haven't
I
really
loaded a few, and I went, I don't know why I need these. I could just use.
Yeah, I haven't loaded too many apps at all.
Okay.
I haven't found the need for that.
No. Otherwise, I'm with you. I've used it pretty sparingly. I've just been playing Walking Dead on it mostly, and then I think I set it up and looked around a couple times. But it's really fast, and the remote, not the game controller, but the remote, it just feels really high quality. I know that seems weird for a little stick, but the control, like the little D-pad on it, or the little whatever optical pad or whatever it is, it works really well. The voice stuff actually does work. It is a pretty nice little thing. I just haven't had any time to really use it. But yeah, not bad. And I think you're going to review it at some point, aren't you? We have like this list of things we need to review.
Yes, I'm going to try. And we'll probably need to do Galaxy S5 first, and then I'll do the Fire
Then
TV.
we'll work
But
on
the Fire
Fire
TV is
TV.
coming.
Yeah. But yeah, not bad. Especially coming from us, who the crew that like never talks about Amazon products because they're forked versions of Android, and we're Android elitists, purists, all that stuff. Yeah, Fire TV's not bad. Shield 2 rumors. Tim, you're also the Shield master. What do you know about the Shield 2?
Give it to me. Shield. Oh, man, how exciting. I like the original Shield. I know some people probably aren't as fond of it. Maybe just because they never really got their hands on it because the price was so high.
That's probably it, yeah.
And other than that, so we got not a benchmark per se, but it was benchmarked, which showed the device's specifications, at least kind of the internal components of it. So we didn't get to see speeds or anything, but even if, I think the Tegra K1 that was shown on the benchmark analysis or whatever was underclocked anyways. So I don't think the 2.5 gigahertz is going to be actual clock speed. Either way, if those specs, kind of pan out to be the legit specifications, then we're looking at a good device. Tegra K1 processor, 4 gigs of RAM. The version that they have is only 16 gigs of onboard storage, but if it's just a test device, then you don't really need to outfit it with 64 gigs or anything like that. Games are getting bigger, so hopefully, consumer versions of the device have at least 32 gigs. Of course, Shield does offer expandable storage with micro SD slots. It did show the resolution of the device, which is apparently, I believe it was 1440 by 800, I want to say, somewhere right around there.
Which is kind of a weird resolution.
Yeah, it always does look odd. Let me verify real quick.
You're right. It's something weird like that. It wasn't 1080p. Yeah, it's 1440 by 810, which is.
Oh, I was close. Okay, that's weird. I've never heard that one.
No.
I'm guessing it's going to be just around the same 5-inch display, something like that. So who knows
Super
exactly what
widescreen.
they're doing? Yeah, super widescreen. Yeah. It showed that there is a 0.3 megapixel camera. I'm assuming it's front facing. It's going to be like on the inside of the clamshell, so it's looking at you when you're kind of gaming or whatever. I told them last year, I was like, boys, listen to me. You want a winner? Put a front-facing camera in this thing.
Well, it would have been a perfect device for doing like hangouts and things, video chatting.
Right
you could just set it up, prop the little thing. Would have been perfect for it. Yeah.
exactly. So I told them, and it looks like they listened.
Yeah, but hopefully
So-
they really aren't just putting a 0.3 megapixel camera in it. That's not even. It's like the worst front-facing camera ever.
That's like QVGA, whatever.
It's like Nexus S
VGA?
style.
Nexus S was awesome.
Yeah, but the front-facing camera on it
Oh, the front-facing camera.
was like original.
Nexus S is not awesome.
So,
I actually liked that phone.
I like that phone too. The
this
front-facing
phone right here?
camera was terrible.
Yeah, I got one in my desk somewhere too, bro. I could whip it
I do
out.
too. I've got the white one somewhere.
Oh
Do
yeah,
you-
I remember
do
you got that.
Do you have
white
the
one.
Sprint one though? Do you have the Sprint one?
No, I
No.
have unlocked.
Did you steal that from your brother?
Maybe.
Yeah, what the heck? Oh, let me add that to my collection because I'm such a fanboy. Fangirl.
Now that you're a fanboy. Do you remember
Yeah.
what the resolution was for the original Shield?
For the original Shield,
720.
720. Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't 1080p. It was 720.
it was not. That was another thing I told him. I was like, bro,
What was the aspect ratio?
oh,
12.
3x4 or something. I don't.
3x4.
3x4.
Not good. Like it really
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
that good.
I'm
Wasn't it
because
just
this-
1280 by 720?
Sorry, you guys talked at the same time.
Yeah.
Same, wasn't it just 1280 by 720?
I'm trying to find out. I'm using the Google machine. 1280 by 720.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they're bumping up the res apparently.
In a really weird way, if that
Yeah.
benchmark's correct.
Yeah, because it'd still be 16:9 with the 1440 by.
This new weird resolution.
810.
Yeah,
Do
it's
people
just a
even
little
make
bit.
displays like that?
I think the thing to take away from this is the Tegra K1 processor being integrated. I mean, that's going to bring GeForce Kepler-like desktop computer-like amazing Uber graphics for mobile games. I mean, NVIDIA's pushing the boundaries of what our mobile devices can do. Unfortunately, you'll never see the Tegra K1 processor in any device besides the Shield 2.
Pretty much.
But
Pretty much.
for anyone who plans on dropping a few hundy on this device, then it should be a little beast. And it might come running Android 4.4.2 according to the benchmark. So we'll see. You know, I have high hopes. You know. I mean, I'm just one person though. I'm not going to be able to keep.
I'm just one man.
I'm just one man. I'm not going to be able to keep you
Shield.
guys in business. But hopefully other people plan on buying it. I don't know. I really don't talk to many people who have a Shield. I feel like anytime we post anything about the Shield, there's
No
really
one
no
does.
one who says, I love my Shield. Everyone's just like, overpros. I don't know. I see more hate
The
than
Shield
love.
was when that was introduced at CES 2 years ago. Like
Oh, it was
we
hype.
talked about this, where the press was like, "Oh my God, this thing is amazing," and we posted all this stuff about it. And even then, minutes after, everyone that read our site went, "This thing is dumb, and we don't want it. It's going to be overpriced." And they were, well, it's not dumb. It's actually kind of a cool product if you have one, but it was overpriced initially, and they dropped the price, and just no one bought it. No one wanted a mini gaming console on the go, apparently.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it wasn't launched with things it should have been, like the gamepad mapper, where you were stuck to only games that you could play that had Shield compatibility. Then once they got the gamepad mapper in there and you could map your own controls, it kind of became a bit more usable, but still it was too little too late, kind of dead on arrival. So and then they had to drop the price, and they had to push back the launch a few months, it lesson learned the hard way, I suppose. If any company could do it, NVIDIA luckily probably has enough in the bank to make a mistake or two. So
Yeah. Gen 2 will hopefully be the one. No, not the one. It'll be just the Shield 2.
yes,
It'll be
Shield
good.
2, OnePlus.
All right, let's talk about stupid big smartphones. So yesterday, I just got fed up. I was holding the Galaxy S5, and then I looked at the One M8 sitting here on my desk, and I got sick of giant smartphones and had a little rant. So, as Ron mentioned, he talked about this in 2011. Here, I have the link of that. So here, I'm gonna post. If you're listening live, I'm posting this in the chat. Here's Ron's from 2011.
Oh, heck yeah.
The
and,
original.
Here's mine from
Practically
yesterday.
from 2012. I mean, this was November.
Mine from yesterday. Yeah,
Is
I mean,
that,
it was
is that how
close.
dates work?
Yeah, I saw that. Well,
I round up, buddy.
It seemed like it was so long ago, but I was just looking and like the Resound and Bionic are on there, and those seemed like they were just yesterday, but they weren't. They were
Yeah.
2.5 years ago. Yeah.
I like how you
so-
say, I'm a big guy. I'm about 6, like, okay.
I'm a big.
What was the first thing you said when you saw me, Tim? Oh, I didn't realize you were going to be that tall.
Yeah, God, you're big.
Yeah. Tim, he told you in 2011, November. And you just
warned
didn't
you.
remember.
I didn't read this stuff back then. Wrong opinion piece? Skip.
Actually, when I wrote this yesterday, I think 3 of the first like 10 comments were, not going to lie, I thought Ron wrote this, and I was just going to flame him. Yeah. All right. So, anyways, basically what I said was I'm sick of the phones just getting bigger, and I think there was a point where we hit the 4.75-inch range, and they started borderline becoming even too big for me. And now we're over that. Now we're 5.1 and 5.2. And I guess what my big sort of feeling is there's a category that everyone likes to call phablet, right? There's that category of phones, which are big, oversized phones. But now we're getting where the Galaxy S5 and the M8, they're creeping into that range. And so we're like blurring the line between this whole phablet category and regular phones. And I just want a regular phone. And I said in the post, that's why we love the Moto X so much, because you could just hold the Moto X in one hand and use it, and we were willing to deal with the terrible camera because the phone worked in one hand. And the Nexus 5, well, it's getting there. When you hold like the M8 or the S5, the Nexus 5 actually feels really great in hand as a one-handed phone, but it's probably sort of pushing the limit there. So I guess I just finally had this little fit, and I just want phones that aren't huge. And then you can have your category of giant phones for the people that want giant phones. Like, I don't even care. Like, if you want a Note 3, like, that's awesome. You have choices. But I'm now running out of choices for phones that are smaller, that fit in one hand, that fit in my pocket. So I just had a little rant yesterday. I don't know. Ron's like, I told you 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, it's like I've been living the hater life. Like, I mean, welcome to the club.
Welcome to the club.
Where's your thick glasses, bro? And you're like mochaccino. You need to move to Seattle. You'd belong perfect.
Get you a little tight black shirt. Yeah.
I guess I couldn't survive in Seattle.
I hear you like New York to lie. I hear you like New York a lot.
I did.
I saw your tweet.
There's some hipsters there too.
Yeah, plenty of hipsters.
Plenty
Just
of
depends on the neighborhood.
There's hipsters where I'm from too. I mean, let's be honest, they exist.
They're everywhere.
Hollywood hipsters.
There's just a lot of them where Tim and I live, and in Seattle.
Yeah.
All right, so Tim, you used to be part of the Note 2 cult. What changed?
Yeah, what happened?
Why are you no longer? Why do you now like smaller phones? I don't. Just curious.
That's weird. You know, I guess just personal preference and taste and things kind of changes over time. That's a great question. Thanks for asking. You know, after the Moto X kind of came out, well, you know, it's weird because the Note 2, I was like, oh man, it's this big, and I like it because I can watch YouTube videos on it. It's nice and big. I guess I like different size phones for different types of activities or whatever it is I'm doing. You know, if I'm walking the dogs, I bring up walking the dogs a lot because I constantly walk my dogs like 20 times a day. So it's a big part of my life. And when I have a smaller phone, you know, and I only have one hand to kind of maneuver everything with, then the smaller phone makes a lot of sense. Unfortunately, when I'm laying on the couch, you know, and I want to play a game or watch a YouTube video or anything else that, you know, I want a bigger screen. So I think each one, and I'm lucky because I get to play with a lot of different phones, each one has its ups and downs in terms of the size, but I guess if I had to only live with one, then I would want a smaller display, something more manageable, or, you know, maybe something right in the middle, maybe something that's not too small like a Moto X. Moto X is a little small, but the Note 2, the Note 3 is too big, you know, so I'm just looking for that middle ground. And unfortunately, like I kind of wanted with the S4, it's not the S4, it's not the M8. I'm really hoping that the new Moto device, or maybe even the G3, is just, you know, more in that middle ground.
The G3, which rumored to have a 5.5-inch display.
Yeah, but LG, kind of like the G2, the G2 feels great in hand.
Yeah, but if they go 5.5 over, because what is the G2 5.2?
5.2, I think.
Okay.
If they're able, I mean, bezels are everything, dude. I mean, who knows? I mean, we saw You saw the renders of the IFLA, the ISA FL or whatever that's heading to Korea. If that thing is the
that thing.
G3, that
That's
thing's like
true.
bezel-less.
It is bezels.
And then and that's great. That's like a dream phone right there. Although I mean it's kind of ugly. Although I would flip the chins, like I would put the chin on top and not the bottom. It looks lopsided when the chin is on the bottom. Other than that, I mean that could be the phone right there.
Well, LG uses this is going to sound like it doesn't make any sense, but they almost use so little bezel that phones just look weird. Like the G2 looks kind of weird. It's all screen. Maybe it's just because we're not used to it. And I'm not hating on that because the G2 is one of those phones that actually you can hold in one hand and use for the most part with normal hands. But I don't. I don't want phones to keep creeping up because I don't like the Note 3, Note 2s, and those really giant phones because they're just not for me. They're not my style of phone. And the regular flagship phones are now creeping into that range, and it drives me insane. I don't have any options now. Everyone that wants giant phones has a million options. If I want a small phone, I got to buy the Moto X with a crappy camera.
Yep, nope, I completely agree. There are other options out there. Unfortunately, they're no good.
Yeah, I mean, I have the experience.
Mid-range phones are still like 4.3, 4.5. You know, manageable sizes.
Yeah, I have to buy those terrible
crap.
mini phones like the Galaxy S4 Mini, where they just cut all the specs out to make them cheap, and I don't want those. I want a really good phone. That's
the HTC One M8 Mini might be your phone then, because I think that's what 4.5-inch display.
Yeah, but I think it has like 1 gig of RAM and.
Yeah. I mean, 13 megapixel
who needs
camera.
RAM?
Yeah,
if you'd be happy with the Moto X if it had a good camera, like you don't need those crazy specs. Like you know that.
Yeah,
well,
but Motorola optimized like the hell out of that phone, and nobody else is doing that.
It doesn't.
Like, I can do a 720p display. Like I can handle 720p. That's fine, as long as it doesn't look yellow like the Moto X's. I love the Moto X, but there's all these things that bug me about. So I could do a mini phone. Like I think the G3 Mini, Tim, isn't the G3 Mini supposed to be decent? At least the first rumors. We don't really know. But I think it's supposed to have a 720p display, and it'll probably have at least 2 gig of RAM or something, and maybe LG will do a good camera or something. I don't know. Maybe that's what I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to buy a damn mini phone.
Yeah, there's something that kind of comes paired alongside with the mini tag of just being sort of cheap, and they don't really put as much effort into the device.
Right.
So
they don't support them.
No, they don't really support them as well. Yeah, it's not a flagship by any means.
Except for Sony. Sony came out with the
compact.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Which I own, by the way, the international one, and it's okay. The display sucks. Well, the display sucks.
If you weren't happy with it, which was on the big version too, so I mean, it doesn't. Yeah. That doesn't change a lot, but.
Right.
So, but that is and even with the Mini from HTC last year, I forget what they took out. They took out optical stabilization, I think, and something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. No OIS.
And it was still 1 gig of RAM, I think, too.
I would have put money that the PS5 at least had OIS, but I guess they took that out too. Like,
they're all doing software. Well, Samsung's forever, I think, just done software sort of stabilization stuff. I think they did it in the Note 3 too. I don't know that they've ever fully gone OIS.
Well, let's hope LG and Motorola have something sweet coming out, because
I'm really just waiting for Motorola at this point.
Yeah.
I know that sounds bad, but they seem to care about user experience, not just making a giant ass phone.
Yeah. Well, and the thing, I think the big thing is just like, you said it in your post, and it's just, for one-handed use, those phones are not. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
Even though they've taken steps to try and at least a lot of companies have taken steps to try to alleviate that. Some, like most companies, have some sort of a tap gesture to turn the screen on and things like that. So they're like doing some things, but to do any kind of especially because the vast majority of Android apps, for God knows what reason, still put most of the navigation stuff on the top of the screen where it's
top left
away. Yeah, they just do insane. I don't understand why that continues to be a trend over and over again. It's fine if you're gonna put just text on the top or whatever, to identify things or whatever. But when you make it so that the only way to navigate through your app is by reaching up to the very top, that's not helpful. Even if you do have a phone like the Moto X, it's still here's the X. It's still difficult to reach up to the top of the screen one-handed. You can do it, but you got to do these weird shimmy things and make the phone unstable when you're walking around or something. Whether it's walking the dogs like Tim is doing, or whatever it is, that makes it a lot more dangerous. And when you drop a giant phone like this, then that also means you've got a giant screen that's probably going to hit. Like,
Yep.
there are issues with all those things, and it almost seems like I get that bigger displays are going to sell better in stores if it's next to a smaller display. Like, I get like all the reasons that this has been happening since before 2011, really.
Right.
But like, we've seen these trends been happening, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And at some point, like, I mean, there are definitely use cases for those kind of things, especially, and they seem to be giant. Benedict Evans has done a ton of work writing this kind of stuff up, where they seem to be huge especially in lower income areas where you're buying one device. You're not buying a computer or anything else like that. This is your one computing device, and so that makes sense. If you're only going to have one, get it with a larger display. But I just don't like, for most consumers, especially if you're shopping these devices through American carriers and everything else like that, most people have a computer somewhere. So having a phone that you can carry with you everywhere, that fits in your pocket, that fits in your hand, that you can, like, I don't know why that demographic has been basically ignored. I also don't know why, like, that seems like a really great ad right there, like, mock people that can't use their phone with one hand. Like, why hasn't that ad been made? Like, why are people, like, you can do, like, you know, and even saying, which Apple does to some extent. I haven't seen any Android manufacturers hype this up and say, look, all these other people have to, if they want to do a phone that has all these specs, they've got to make it giant. Look how huge it is. You can't use it. You've got to have two hands and a friend to help you use the phone. Like,
Right.
That's a great, you know, selling point right there to say, hey, this phone has everything that all these other guys have, but it fits in your hand. You can use it while you're walking, and all these, like, that's the way to sell a phone that nobody else is going to be able to do, right? So they've got these giant things that require styluses and everything. Like, I don't know why that's not happening. It's strange and weird. Hopefully the market will readjust. Hopefully we'll see companies like Motorola and maybe Sony, if they continue to enter the U.S. anymore, you know, maybe we'll see people do that. But I don't know. It seems very, very strange to me. It seems very obvious that there's certainly a market for it, and that there's certainly a way to sell this even against those giant phones.
Yeah, I think they're probably scared to go back too. You know, if Samsung goes, so they just did 5.1. So if next year's Galaxy S6 or whatever they're going to call it, like if they all of a sudden went, well, maybe we should go a little bit smaller, and they went back to like 4.7, everyone would just trash it and go, they went backwards. I don't know. I mean, I just think we're in such a bad place where bigger is better and shinier and it sells, and I think everyone's scared, except Motorola, but they obviously weren't that successful, so I don't know. It sucks. It does.
Totally.
Totes. So in 2.5 years, Tim will write it up this time.
Which one?
The same thing.
Oh, I hate phones today.
Yeah. Do you guys want to do a quick reader Q&A?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
I haven't looked to see if there are any.
If anyone's willing to ask us questions, we are here to answer them.
We are here.
Can you put a link real quick maybe into chat?
Oh, sure. I think I have one.
Is that a possibility? While you're doing that, I wanted to tell everyone that Tim Potato's making the move on over to a different OS. Because I'm tired of it. I'm rocking the Windows phone from now on, going to Windows 8, and it's the worst thing I've ever seen. I got it because we were going to do like a counter thing. Ron was like, "Hey man, I want to try out Windows Mobile 8.1." I was like, "Oh,
it's Windows Phone."
You always call it the wrong thing.
Oh, who cares? Like, really, I don't care. Like, I could make that mistake 1,000 times over and not even care. Like, but like Windows, dude. I played with it for 5 minutes, and I was so bored. I mean, tiles? It's just so boring.
It's pretty boring to look at. I would agree with you on that.
Yeah. Anyways, you posted a link? Yep. All right. So let's look at these questions. Hopefully there's some awesome ones.
Well, the first one that I'm seeing is from Keon X, and he says OnePlus said that they weren't planning on making profit for 2 years. Is that a smart model? I don't think they're going to sell enough phones for that to be a smart move. Like Google, who's already a massive company and has billions in the bank, they can sell something and not make money for a couple years, or give away Android for free to take over the market. I don't know that OnePlus, who is a nobody still, can sell phones for 2 years and not make any money and then grow and survive. And hopefully they'll prove me wrong. I hope they prove me wrong. We need more players in the game since everyone seems to be dying except Samsung. But that's scary. 2 years, brand new startup that I don't know.
That seems backwards. I feel like you would just want. I don't know why you just want to like fall into. I don't know if it's going to be debt or probably not debt, but like you're not making money apparently. What they're saying, not making a profit for 2 years. HTC would kill to make one of those, and look how long they've been in the game. So
yeah, I mean, if HTC, who's been in the game for as long as they have, is just bleeding cash, I don't know how you could jump into the game then and decide just to not make money for a couple of years to just try to. I mean, I don't know if they're going with the shock the system approach, with the look how cheap this stuff is. We're going to make everything cheaper. Motorola even kind of tried to do this with the Moto X. They started selling it really cheap, and they did it with the Moto G, where they just created the cheapest phone possible, or at least are selling it for these ridiculously low prices. And the Moto G is maybe working for them, but it doesn't have high-end specs and top-tier everything. So you can do it with cheap stuff. You can't really do it with expensive stuff. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. I am just a blogger.
Let's hope so. Yeah. What do bloggers know? They only run the mobile world these days.
I don't know about that, but that just sounds scary. So I mean, good luck to them, and we'll give their phone a run and see what happens.
Absolutely.
What else do we got? Ron, do you think the Moto X is too big because you have Whopper Junior hands?
No, not Whopper, Whooper.
Yeah, it does say Whooper. I was trying to help him out. It does say Whooper.
Well, hey,
Jr.
maybe his giant man hands got in the way and he couldn't type Whopper. I don't know. That happens. I don't think it's too big. I mean, you can see me holding it right here. You can see where my thumb is. Like, I think that for me personally, I think this is on the farthest edge of how big I want a phone display to be if I'm carrying something
You think
around.
the Moto X is almost too big?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. You and me see very differently.
Well, yeah, you used to be in a Note 2 cult. Yeah, I think we do see things differently. Also, I use an iPhone all day, so yeah, I mean, that's,
Have you ever ran a Note 2, as your day-to-day phone, or any phone over 5 inches?
No.
Do you want me to send you a Note 3?
Yeah, try it out, dude. Just give it a shot and be like, wow, and then you're going to see, whoa, look at these YouTube videos and Netflix and all this. It looks amazing on these.
Ron will be this S Pen fanboy, multitasking, multi-window.
Yeah, once you...
I don't even need my iPad anymore.
Yeah. Well, but that's and I've said this before, I think phones of that size definitely have use cases for people. There's not my preference, right? I like being able to walk around and use my phone in one hand, so that I can do that with the Moto X, and a lot of that too is some of the software enhancements that we've had from, whether it's from gestures and things like that, especially being able to swipe on the keyboard. That's something I can't do on my iPhone, and that drives me insane because I'd rather just do that. So it's things like that, like I said, that have made those kinds of things easier. But I mean, even if you had something like Note 3 size, even things like that are difficult to do because it gets wider as the display gets bigger.
Whooper Jr.
Whooper Jr. hands.
My Twitter hand.
You got some big hands, bruh. And for everyone talking about it, I am applying some type of update currently on this Windows crap.
I love how they had to slap a Windows logo on the home button.
On the home button.
All of them have that.
Really?
Yeah.
That looks really bad.
It's
Samsung's looks the worst because it's basically a GS4 with
yeah.
Nah, it's more like a GS3.
Is that one of those really weirdly named ATIV phones or
It's the ATIV S Neo.
Yeah, they have the worst. Samsung has the worst Windows phone names of all.
Yeah.
All right, here's one on wearables.
Oh.
Will we see smartwatches, wearables always having some sort of fitness integration? I would just say that everyone's putting fitness stuff in them because they don't know what else to do. And we've talked about this a lot on the show, where we don't think smartwatches are anywhere near where they should be, or people know what it should be. And so I think everyone just goes, well, if you can wear it, let's do fitness, because fitness is such a big deal. And so I think people are just throwing in fitness stuff because they don't know what else to do. You can only do so many notifications and taking phone calls and all that stuff that Samsung wants. So the next thing is fitness, I guess. Although, is the Moto 360, do we know if there's an Android Wear? There isn't really a whole fitness platform. Is there with Android Wear yet?
Not that they've announced, at least.
I think they're Maybe they did announce some sort of like pedometer thing, or
I was gonna say maybe pedometer at most, but I haven't seen anything else.
yeah. But at now, I don't think there's like I don't think the Moto 360. We've seen anything that says it's gonna have some big fitness app or something like that. Like I don't think that was part of it. And obviously we don't know that much about it yet, but so maybe not. Maybe right now the thing is fitness wearables, and maybe in the future with Android Wear it won't necessarily be about that. It'll be more about information or getting things done with your voice instead of fitness. I don't know.
Yeah, what else can you really do with them, right?
Right.
You kind of need it.
So in other words, why do we need smartwatches?
We don't. They just look cool. The Moto 360 is hopefully.
It looks really pretty. Yeah.
I hope we see it at Google I/O or something like, and get my hands on that.
Let's see. What else do we got? Oh, someone just asked, what is your all-time favorite feature on a phone? Can either of you name your favorite feature of all time from a phone? On the spot?
I think on Android, I think my favorite feature is probably just actionable items and notifications.
Yeah, that makes it so much easier to just get things done. I would say I really like how keyboards have evolved and how much smarter they are. Like you can just tap away on a keyboard now and not spell anything right, and it just gets it right usually. Oh, not usually, but a lot of the time.
Unless it's a Samsung keyboard.
Yeah, the Samsung keyboards are terrible. But like Google's stock keyboard now, this is the one I usually prefer and go back to. I know a lot of people love SwiftKey, and it's great too, but I just use the stock Google one, and I just hammer away on that thing, and it seems to get most of my stuff right. So.
Yeah, that one looks
I updated and it looks the same. Everyone who said that 8.1 was cooler is a liar.
Well, come on, Cortana something.
Well, did you? It can't be.
I don't even know
I don't
if
think it's out yet.
Okay, first of all,
8.1's not even out yet.
what I'm doing is my first time touching a Windows 8 mobile phone.
No, God. Now you're just doing it on purpose.
Windows mobile phone.
Yeah, it says Windows Phone 8.0 still. So
Yeah.
Screen resolution 720 by 1280. Yeah. I'm sending this to you, by the way. Anyways, favorite feature on a phone, I love that the cameras are getting better and better. When I first got my first Android phone, the Droid, I really wasn't taking too many pictures with it. There was no Snapchat, there was no Instagram. I really wasn't doing anything with it. Now that the cameras are awesome, I'm loving the cameras probably more than anything. And of course, the apps, the ecosystem 9, it clearly definitely makes a smartphone what it is, because having access to those apps, and that ecosystem is what you need. So, I would have to say, Instagram is one of those big ones for me. But in terms of hardware feature or KitKat feature, having system toggles in your pull down was big for me, and so far that might be one of my favorite additions. Has been the system toggles in the pull down.
Yeah, I remember that was a ROM feature people were adding in. Such a big deal.
It was huge. It was
a little Wi-Fi toggle. You used to have to go all the way into settings just to turn your Wi-Fi on and off.
Or they had that system widget.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. They did have a system widget.
But then if you had to connect to a network or whatever, you had to get the settings.
Exactly.
Back in the day. All right, let's whip through some apps since we kind of have a few. The first one, Google Camera app. If you guys have been living under a rock or something, Google released a camera app, and it's available to any phone running KitKat, I believe, 4.4 and above. And it's not bad. They changed the whole UI up. They didn't simplify it necessarily, but they gave you a giant shutter sort of black bar on the right, so you really can't miss if you're trying to take a picture. And then on the left side, they have a sort of swipe out menu that lets you choose between like photosphere and panorama, and then a new lens blur mode or regular camera. And it's a lot better. The pictures I've taken with the Nexus 5, I guess I haven't compared them to pre-Google camera, so I can't necessarily say if they're better or not, but they're decent. And then lens blur is obviously the cool feature they introduced where you can refocus photos after the fact. So Google Camera, it's free. If you have KitKat, you might as well give it a shot. It works on Galaxy S5, M8, any of those new phones.
Moto X.
Moto X. So we had somebody ask us how you can change the Moto X twisty action to launch the Google camera. I don't know that you can, which is kind of too bad because I think a lot of people want to use that instead of the Moto X camera. And I don't know that you can change that.
There'd have to be a way to set a different camera app as your default. I don't even know if you can.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can, unless there's a. I haven't looked. Unless in the somewhere in the settings for that, like if you could go into the app manager and find the like sort of system app for the wrist flick, if there even is one, and if you could find a default. Yeah, I don't know if you could find that or not. Yeah, I had somebody ask that, but don't know.
I don't know if you guys. Oh, sorry, go for it.
I'm done.
Oh, I don't know if you guys saw, but Samsung is now reportedly releasing a smartphone with a 7-inch display.
Somebody did send me that link earlier. Maybe
Yeah.
in the chat.
Give me a break.
I changed my mind. I want that. Let's give me that.
I'll get it for you just so you can try it out around.
I just want to hold that to my face all day.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah, that's a big phone.
Yeah.
So, let's see. You talked about wallpaper?
Oh no, I haven't talked about wallpaper. Wallpaper app. Although it's called wallpaper. At least that's how you would say it. But it's spelled WLPAPR, I think. I don't even know how you spell it. No, WLPAP. Yeah, WLPAP capital R. And it's from a developer that does icon packs and stuff, but he also does really cool wallpapers. It's $1.10. Here, I'll paste the link since no one's going to be able to spell that because it's the most ridiculous name ever. Anyways, it's $1.10 and it's a cloud-based wallpaper app, so the guy can just keep adding more wallpapers all the time. Obviously, they won't cost more. You can download them to your device, set them as wallpapers, all that stuff. And he's got some really cool ones. So, yeah, wallpaper with only one vowel right in the middle. Weird.
I hate that. Like, really?
Yeah, the spelling of it's just dumb. And what's with the capital R at the end? Anyways, it's a cool app, though, if you need some wallpapers. And we're big wallpaper fans, so.
Whopper Junior hands.
Whooper. All right.
We're getting tweets about it, Ron. Sorry to bring it up again.
Yeah.
Hashtag Whopper Junior hands. My apps today include Zuper by Beard, which is a set of widget themes for the Zuper widget app. What you do is you download Zuper widgets, premium of course. That way you can apply your own little themes that you can download separately from Google Play. The one I have is by, this guy is going to have to forgive me. I only know him as Beard, but I know he's like buddies with Dave Cover and all these. It's like this little group of themers, that just release stuff and hang out in a circle. And so Zuper by Beard, I'll put a link down in the chat. But there's about 10 or so different themes for the widgets, and I kind of like them all. It's kind of hard to explain the widgets that they look like, but I think they're clean, somewhat minimal. Yeah, there's one. I also have one on my phone that I will display.
They're really cool. Yeah, clocks.
I have this one currently, and it looks nice with a minimal background, and it's good. So Zuper by Beard widgets.
Zuper by Beard.
What's up with these app names or whatever, dude? It's killing me. So there's a link for you. Well, I see that Ridvik is helping me out and beating me to the punch in our chat. Thank you, Ridvik. Let's see, yeah. Besides that, I have Chrome Remote Desktop. So this app was in beta. Do me a favor, Ridvik, throw a link in the chat. This app was in beta quite a while ago, not too long ago. But either way, it's released now for the general public. It's like any other third party where you can have remote access to your desktop computer, except it's through Chrome and Google's little server. So if you like Google more than TeamViewer or whatever, not Team. I guess it would be kind of TeamViewer-ish. I'm trying to think of the other app that you can use to.
I just want to know if it actually works. I haven't tried it for some reason. I didn't even install any of the stuff. So
I installed it all. I have a Mac, and it kept telling me when I launched it, it says you don't have third-party or remote access turned on. I'm like, okay, I see the button that says on and off, so I click on, and it won't give me access. The Mac just keeps asking me for my password, and I'm like, okay, here's my password. So I can't keep working on the Mac, and it's super frustrating. So I gave up. So I don't know how good the app is, but apparently people are saying it's good. Thank you, Ridvic, for linking that. And thank you, Kellen. Got some good guys on my team. So yeah, Chrome Remote Desktop, it's completely free. A lot of those apps that do that remote desktop access are not free. So having one from Google is fantastic. I already read a story on Reddit how it saved one guy from a very embarrassing situation. So I won't link that because it's NSFW. But yes, it was a great story. And being able to access your desktop computer from no matter where you are can be quite the lifesaver if you're a naughty boy. So check it out.
That's funny.
And that's that. Yeah.
I also want to just point out that Hangouts got a big update. I'd imagine you've all updated Hangouts by now, but it got merged conversations of SMS and Hangouts messages, assuming you have contacts all aligned. So that's actually kind of awesome. They simplified contact lists, and we have a widget now. So you actually have a home screen widget, which I actually am using, by the way. So get new Hangouts if you don't. I'm sure you all have it, though. It should be rolled out. And then Flickr got a big update on Android, and it now kind of looks a little bit like Instagram, although it's probably a bunch of professional photographers because I don't know who else uses Flickr, but it's a really nice-looking new app. I mean, the redesign is actually really nice looking. I just don't use Flickr personally, but if you're a big photo guy, Flickr. Yeah.
Or if you want to post and share images that aren't squares.
Right.
Which is what I use Flickr for when I want to share a picture that's not a square.
Yeah. That would be a good reason to use it.
I guess it's pretty good. Good job, Brent. Did you say that Hangouts has a widget now?
Or yeah, Flickr? Hangouts has a widget now.
I don't see this.
Also, by the way, just a quick update. So on the Moto X, as far as I can tell, you cannot set the shake to whatever.
Shake and bake.
Yeah, so you can't.
Your camera.
You can't set the shake and bake or whatever. There are some apps that you can set as your default camera app or whatever, like Zoom FX. You can set as the default camera, but there doesn't appear a way to be able to do that in settings. So they must be doing something else. However, you can set it so that when you turn on your screen and swipe over to launch the camera, you can set the Google camera app as the default on that.
Nice.
Oh.
So if you still want a quick way to do it that doesn't involve shaking, that's a nice way to do it.
Did it prompt you to set that after you had Google Camera installed, or did you have to do something else?
So what you do once it's installed, you just swipe over, and it'll ask you which one you want to launch.
Okay.
When you first use it, and then you pick just once or always, whatever you want to do. So.
Well, it's too bad the wrist thingy. Flingy. Okay. All right, that's all I got for apps. We didn't have any games. Tim, you're not playing anything new. You're just playing Walking Dead on the Fire TV.
Well, I'm playing Walking Dead. I'm playing Impossible Road still, which I'm loving. And I'm actually looking at my phone, looking at games. I'm still playing threes. There hasn't really been anything out that I've been like, ooh, So yeah. I'm sticking with these. Oh, and of course, Quiz Up. I mean, I don't have any time for anything else besides Quiz Up. Come on, Kellen.
Ron, is there anything on iOS coming to Android in 8 months that we need
that we should know about?
We should put on our radar.
No, the only thing I was going to say that I've been using has been 1Password. So after the whole Heartbleed thing that happened, I decided to go ahead and go for it. So and they do have an Android app, and it's actually free. It's kind of crappy because it looks like it was based on gingerbread, but it works. And you can get the program on your Mac or Windows. And the nice thing about that is that it's a super cross-platform. So if you have an Android phone and an iPad, you can have it sync with Dropbox and your password sync all over the place. So if you haven't looked into that, do it, get it. And the app's free on iOS. It's normally $18. So
what?
Yep.
Wait, how much?
It's $18 normally. And on the desktop, it's the program, at least for if you get a multi-license one, it's normally $50. So they're actually, Agile Bets is the company that develops it. They're actually doing a sale until Friday. So if you want to get those apps on either iOS, which is a universal app, so you pay for it once, it's $9. And then if you want to get a multi-license one, so it can go on multiple computers, it's only $25 right now. So now's the time to do it. They're really high-quality apps, and it's nice to have some peace of mind that you don't have
except for the Android version, which is built off gingerbread.
But it's free, works. And it works perfectly. I've tested it out. It works great. So
that's crazy. That's free.
That's crazy.
I'm assuming it's free because either A,
Or
they're saying they're not going to, yeah, people aren't going to buy it, and B, they're not going to put that much development into it, which is obvious because they haven't updated it. So,
Yeah, when was the last time it was updated? I'm just curious. Have you looked? Was it like was it when you were telling everyone that 4.3-inch phones were huge?
It's probably back in 2011. Let me see. Let's see. My apps. One password reader. Last updated December 17th, 2013.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah, they haven't updated the assets, but the app itself works.
Yeah. Well, that's, all right, sweet.
Yeah. To leave you all with a tease, everyone should start eyeing Google Play come Tuesday, April 29th. That's all I can say. There's a really sweet app coming. It's going to be legit.
Yes, there is. Sweet app coming.
Sweet app coming, baby.
Anything else?
Not a Droid Life app, so don't think that. Sorry.
Anything else other than Blazer game starts in 6 minutes?
No, thanks for joining us early.
Yeah, thanks for joining us early. Thanks, Ron, for joining us when you could.
Yeah, Ron, we love you.
Hopefully Eric's having fun at Waka.
Waka Flocka. Good luck, Eric.
Good luck, Eric.
Alive.
All right, cool. Well, yeah, we can wrap unless you guys have any parting words. I think
Don't get a Windows phone.
Yeah, definitely don't do that.
No.
And it's on Sprint, too. I mean, give me a break, right? This is like my nightmare.
This is like the worst combination of technology ever in history.
Well, it's not like it's an iPhone on Sprint, right?
I'd still take I would take an iPhone over this any day. Ecosystem.
I think I'd probably take an iPhone on Sprint over that, too.
Yeah, I mean,
Here's
a perfect
the real
ecosystem.
question. Would you take a Windows phone or a WebOS phone?
Windows. Because
yeah,
it's still
Windows.
alive.
I think there's an
You can still use it.
app on Windows, right?
Yep, it's in beta.
All right, I'll take that then. I'll take that. But I'd rather it be Nokia than Samsung. So, yeah. Anyways, thank you.
All right, cool. Yeah, thanks for joining us. This has been episode 56. We will hopefully be back next week. We'll let you guys know. I'm sure we will be.
Or
Yeah, we're out. Peace. Bye.
Auf Wiedersehen.